Hi there, welcome to Lilly-Tree. Today we're making this heart-shaped pendant. Let's get wrapping. For this project we only need 1mm diameter copper wire, which is 18 gauge, 0.4mm diameter copper wire, which is 26 gauge, and a jump ring to attach the chain. And the tools we need are round nose pliers, bail making pliers, chain or flat nose pliers, wire cutters and a file. We'll start with a piece of the 1mm or 18 gauge wire, about 20 centimetres or 8 inches long. And we want to bend that in half, and then taking the bail making pliers, just continue to bend that until we've got the approximate shape we want for the right hand side of the heart. And I've crossed the right hand side of the wire over the left hand side. Then we'll take our 0.4mm diameter or 26 gauge wire, and I have 1.5 meters here, but we probably only need about 1 metre, and wrap it 3 times on the left hand side of that loop. We'll make sure those wraps are nice and tight, move them up towards the top of the loop, then we can take that weaving wire across and wrap 3 times on the other side of the loop. We want to leave a small space at the top as a hanging point for the pendant. Then we can go back over to the first side, wrap 3 times, and cross back again and wrap 3 times. And we'll continue this 3 wrap corset weave to fill this teardrop shape. Before we get right to the end, we can bend the frame wires into shape for the left hand side of the pendant. So we can take our flat nose or chain nose pliers and hold the top wire just to the right of where those wires cross, and then bend that wire upwards. Now we want a nice sharp point for the bottom of the heart, so I like to overbend the wire. And in this case I'm going to take it almost parallel, and then carefully open it back out to where we want it to sit. Now the wire might bend a little at the point when we're doing this, so we can just use those chain nose or flat nose pliers to straighten it back out again. Once we're happy with the shape that's making, we want to bend the second tail of wire up to sit behind that first one. So we'll do exactly the same as we did before, bending it with the chain or flat nose pliers, taking it to being almost parallel, and then opening it back out again. We just want those wires to be sitting one behind the other. Then we can take our weaving wire and just finish off that corset weave. We're still wrapping 3 times over each side before crossing between them. We want to finish by wrapping that top wire up to the point at the bottom of the heart. And then we're ready to start creating the left hand side. We're now going to switch to a wraparound weave. So we want to take the weaving wire and wrap it 3 times around the back wire. We'll then take it over and wrap both of those wires 3 times. Make sure all of the wraps are sitting tightly together. And once we've got those 3 wraps, we'll go back and wrap just the back wire 3 times. And this 3-3 weave is what we're going to use to complete the pendant. So we'll just continue weaving this up to the point where the wires need to bend round to create the heart shape. Then we can take our chain or flat nose pliers, hold the wires at the top of that weave, and bend the top wire around to the shape that we want. Then we'll take the back wire and bend that round, but also bring it forwards and over the top of that first wire. We want that to sit inside the curve of that first wire. We want at least one of those wires to be crossing in front of the first half of the heart. And just make sure that we're happy with the shape. And then we can trim those frame wires. I'll trim that first one fairly long. And then the second one so it just sits a little shorter. Now, I'd originally thought of hammering the ends of the wires, but it's quite a tight space for that. So I think I'm just going to file the ends to round them off a bit. To do this, we can pull those wires forwards a bit, just to give us enough space to get the file in. And if needed, we can pull that top wire a little further forward. Then just carefully file the ends to the shape you want and make sure there's no burrs. Then we can push those wires back into place. And just make sure it's shaped how we want. Then we can continue that 3-3 wrap, wrapping 3 times on both wires, and then 3 times on just the wire that's moving from the back to the front. And once we get to where those wires meet the other side, we'll attach both sides of the heart together. So we'll take the weaving wire around the left-hand side of the heart and to the back. And where it meets the wraps on the right-hand side, we'll take the weaving wire through the middle of that corset weave. Make sure it's sitting tightly within that weave. And then continue the 3-3 wrap on the left-hand side. Once those 2 wire ends start to move apart, we don't want to put the wraps over both of them. So we'll continue wrapping just that inner wire for a few more wraps. Then we can trim off that weaving wire. Make sure the end's tucked in. And trim that wire at the start. Then we just need to add the jump ring, add the chain, and our heart pendant's finished. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, why not head to this playlist for more heart-shaped projects. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.